Hey guys, how's it going? So, I just got something very cool in the mail today, and that is I got a brand new record from Data Discs. Now, what is this record, you may be asking? Well, it is none other than the Metal Slug soundtrack. And I am very excited to see this. And the reason is because it's actually still in its original shrink wrap. So what I'm going to be doing in this particular video is pretty much like the Sonic Mania record, is that I'm going to be unboxing this thing for the first time. You'll get to see all my reactions and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this video. So without much further ado, let me get started on unboxing this thing. So what you always need to do whenever you're unboxing these records is that you always look for like an area on the album that always has like a lot of extra plastic bits on it. And what you're going to do is that you're going to need to take a pair of scissors, and then you're going to cut that piece off. Like I did here. Be careful not to cut the album. But yeah, you just cut that little piece off, put the scissors aside, and then now you basically have like a little gap where you basically peel at in order to open up the album. Yeah, so let me just get started unboxing this thing. Yep, don't want to tear up the album. But yeah, I'm very excited about unboxing this thing for you guys. But anyways, so here's the front cover of the Metal Slug album. Very beautiful artwork that Data Discs has always done with their record art and all that kind of stuff. And you can see that right here there's like a little obi strip to the album as well. And it's actually very interesting because it's made of like kind of like a clear material. And but anyways, let me read what's on it. So you can see that it says Metal Slug Super Vehicle 001. That was basically the whole title of the original Metal Slug game. Now there's a number called 013, and this is meant to indicate that this is the 13th album that Data Discs has released. So you can see here complete music from the classic Neo Geo game, and that's very interesting, and I'll go more in detail why that's very interesting in a little bit. But anyways, so it's newly remastered and available on vinyl for the first time ever, 180-gram LP and lithographic print, very nice, and an officially licensed SNK product, which is super interesting. Now, the thing is that this album is a lot like the Sonic Mania album that I have, and it's a gatefold. And as you can see here, this obi strip is not on the back of the album. It's actually in the place where the inner picture of the gatefold would be at. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slide this off for the entirety of this review, and I'll show that more. I'll talk more about why I do that in a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, so here's what it looks like. Is there anything on the back? Nope, there's nothing on the back of this obi strip, which is also very interesting. But anyway, so this is what the front cover of this Metal Slug album looks like. Very nice artwork, and as I said before in my Sonic Mania and Shenmue reviews, Data Discs does not just like take like a low quality image of the game's cover from the internet. They usually take like the original images, the original artwork that these companies made, and then put it onto this album artwork right here. And you can clearly see that in person. It's very sharp, very detailed, and it's very, very nice to look at in real life. So yeah, so that's the front. And also you got the back of this game right here with this very nice illustration of a tank. Very, very nice. And also you can see like all the song selections of this album and all that kind of stuff. And let's see. And of course you get a really nice big SNK logo right here as well. Now, the reason why I said earlier why this, like this says that it's a Neo Geo and SNK stuff is very interesting, is because if you've ever been to like Data Disc websites or bought any one of their products, you would know that they were very into, like Sega merchandise and all that kind of stuff. I.e., for example, Shenmue and Sonic Mania. They're basically all Sega things right there. This is not Sega, this is SNK. And of course they advertise, this is from the Neo Geo, which is very interesting. But, so I go like, so is Data Disc doing, basically game soundtracks other than Sega right now? But it took me a little while, and I thought about it, and I found out, well, not found out, but I think the reason why is that Data Disc made this record is because if you think about it, there was a port of this game, Metal Slug, on the Sega Saturn. So obviously, that's probably the main reason why this album got released by Data Disc, which is very cool. So if you ever happen to make a game for basically any Sega consoles, you might have a chance of Data Disc making your game soundtrack into records, which is very cool. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just totally guessing right here. But anyway, so yeah, so this is basically all of the back part of this Metal Slug album right here. And then, if we look on the inside, I'm gonna do this exactly like I did for the Sonic Mania album, where I basically show you guys what's inside of this thing first, before I get to see it. So I hope you guys like what's inside of it. So, yeah. So, let me take a look, and wow, that is freaking cool. These things never cease to amaze me. These are, wow, this is awesome. Wow, jeez. Yeah, so let me guys show you again what the this whole painting looks like right here. Very good job of printing this thing out that Data Disc did. And this thing is very colorful, very nice to look at in real life. I wish you guys could see it. The thing is though, is that I would love to hang this thing on the wall, but unfortunately, if you guys didn't hear in my Sonic Mania video, what basically happens is that in Florida, I live in Florida, and we have really bad times with sun fading and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I'm not gonna hang this thing on the wall, but if you do want to buy this album just mainly for like aesthetic purposes, for example like hanging this on the wall, you should actually do it because wow, they did a good job on this. So yeah, so that's basically all the outside of this album. And now what I'm going to do is to stick my hand into this cookie jar right here and pull out the inward contents of this this album out. So let me do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slowly pull these things out. Yeah, okay, good. And let's see. Ah, there it is. Okay, cool. So yeah, so here it is. So when you bought this album from Data Disc, you get this little card right here, and what it is essentially like, there's basically like a code. Now obviously I'm not going to show it, but there's a code on this card, and basically if you like, you type it in and all that kind of stuff, you can download an MP3 copy of what's on the record into your computer and all that kind of stuff, which is really nice. It's a very nice thing that Data Disc does that, because I think they also did, yeah, they did the same thing with the Sonic Mania album, but I'm not sure if they did that kind of stuff for any of the other ones, but we might see more of that kind of stuff in the future. So yeah, so I'm going to talk about this last, and I'm going to talk about this first. So this is the lithographic print of the Metal Slug album. It's exactly the same thing as the album jacket, but as you can see, there's more of the original picture inside of this thing, which is very nice. And then what Data Disc did not show you is that there's extra art in the back, and yeah, this looks really cool and sharp. It's amazing to look at. Very good detail on this print right here. And then now with that stuff out of the way, it's time to move on to the main attraction, the record. Now, I did a very special thing with this record, but I'll talk about that in a little bit, why this is special. So, when you buy records from Data Disc, you could have bought 3 different versions of them. You could have bought the limited edition, you could have bought the colored edition, and you could have bought the black edition. Now, unfortunately, I procrastinated and I could not buy the limited edition in time because it looked really pretty. So that only left me with the 2 other options, which was the colored and the black version of this album. And truth be told, I did not like the colored version of this album. It was like an ugly, pale, yellowish color. I did not like it. It looked pretty bad. So that is why I decided to buy the black version of this album. And yeah, so let me show you guys what this thing looks like. Carefully do that. So here's what it looks like. See, so that's side A, and now here's side B. And let me see if there is a secret message on this thing, because if you didn't know, Data Disc always tends to do that. Wow, this actually looks really interesting. By the way, before I talk about the message, on side B, usually okay, so I'm going to show you side A first. There's usually like a run-out groove at the end of the album. but that goes all the way to where like the label is at and all that kind of stuff. But if you look on side B, there is no, well, there is a run out groove, but it doesn't extend all the way to the label, which is really cool to look at. But yeah, let me show you guys or talk about the secret messages that are on these records, because that's Data Disc tradition to always put secret message on these records. Anyways, so what you need to do is you basically bend the record into, or angle the record, don't actually bend it, angle the record into the light and all that kind of stuff. And you can see on side A it says, jump to board the enforced Metal Slug. Okay, and then on side B, aha, there it is. Okay, so it says, peace forever. Yeah, now, I never, truth be told, I never got a chance to play Metal Slug back in the day, because, you know, Metal Slug was before my time and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure, you know, like Metal Slug fans would get a real kick out of those secret messages. But anyway, so back to what I was saying, the other reason why I wanted to pick this record in a black color is because there's usually like people that debate online whether, you know, like colored records or black records have more surface noise and all that kind of stuff. And typically people say that the colored records are typically noisier and all that kind of stuff. Now, I have the other two records of Data Discs in my collection, you know, the ones that I mentioned earlier, Shenmue and Sonic Mania. Both of them are colored. And what I'm going to do is that, okay, so let me step back a little bit. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pop this thing onto the turntable, listen to it, and what I'm going to do is that I'm also going to let you guys have a listen to what this record sounds like. So in order to do that, I'm going to play this song for like, my favorite song on this track for like 30, no, not 30, a few seconds. And then I'm going to basically lower the volume down and then talk all over it so that YouTube doesn't get me for copyright issues and all that kind of stuff. And so that I can say my thoughts on the sound quality of this thing. And then at the very end of this video, I'm going to do a little test comparing the surface noise of this album with my Sonic Mania album, because I think that album is a little bit quieter than my Shenmue one. So yeah, anyway, so let me let you guys hear this record, and I think you guys are gonna like it. Alright, so I want to talk about the surface noise test first before I talk about the what my personal thoughts about this album, because I thought the results were very interesting. Because, you know, I'm sure you guys heard this, but I personally thought that the Metal Slug album had more surface noise than the Sonic Mania one. Yeah, I couldn't actually believe it, because, you know, as I said before, the conventional wisdom is that, you know, the black records are always going to be the quietest ones while the colored ones are not. That's not the case with this experiment that I did here, and it's very interesting. And I think there might have actually been a reason why that this Metal Slug album was a little bit noisier. If you paid any bit of attention to like Data Discs, like Twitter posts and all that kind of stuff, you would have noticed that when they first tried to release this album, they discovered they had a manufacturing defect with them. So what they did is they basically trashed those records and made a new pressing. And I think, you know, and what that did is that it basically delayed the orders and all that kind of stuff. And I think what happened is that Data Disc, in their rush to basically satisfy their customers, I think they may have rushed the process of making their records a little bit too fast. And as a result, we can obviously hear it in the surface noise of this record. So I think the general thing that we conclude from all of this is that it is not the color of the record that determines how good is the sound quality. It is how well did the manufacturer press the records that determines how good it is. And I think this Metal Slug album is a perfect example of that. Now I know this is basically a one-time basis, and I'll be sure to do more tests like this in the future when I receive more data disc records. But I'm fairly certain that it is really how well did the manufacturer press the records, not the color of the records that determine how good it sounds. So yeah, with all that out of the way, I think it's time that we move on to my thoughts about this Metal Slug album. And despite all that surface noise, that is one thing that Data Disc did very well. They've always done this very well. They managed to master this record very loudly so you cannot hear the surface noise during the songs, and that's friggin' tastic. They've always done a good job at that. The songs on this album are very clear, very detailed, and I'm very sorry that earlier in this video that I really didn't offer, didn't go into much description about the soundtrack of this amazing album right here. Because, as I said earlier in this video, I never grew up with Metal Slug. I never even played it. I never even heard a single music of this game soundtrack. And, the reason why I didn't want to listen to any of its soundtrack on YouTube is because, I didn't want to ruin it for myself. I really wanted to experience it first on the record, and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to make my first time listening to this album very special. And that's one thing I gotta say. This album is freaking amazing. Not only did I say before, that the sound quality is very good, the songs are very excellent on this album. This is a very solid album to listen to. It is so enjoyable. I absolutely loved every single one of these songs on this album. And another cool thing that Data Disc did with this record is that they put sound effects on this album. Yeah, because they basically put in voice clips from the game scattered all across the record and all that stuff. They usually have them occurring before the music starts and all that. And there's actually one track, the very first track of this album, that is entirely dedicated to these sound effects. It is super friggin' cool. It's a great way to start listening to this album.
Metal Slug!
And another thing that Data Disc did with this record concerning sound effects is that, do you guys remember how earlier in this video I said that side B of this record did not have a run out groove or anything like that? Well, the reason is because it has a locked groove, and this locked groove have a very special message. Take a listen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's friggin' awesome. A record that basically thanked you for listening to it. That is cool, and that is more than definitely a good enough reason to get this album. So yeah, this is another great purchase from Data Disc. I'm absolutely happy with this product. Again, very clean, clear artwork and all that kind of stuff, as you can see here. And of course, it has a downloadable MP3 code, and of course, you get a record along with it. And I'm sure that the second pressing of this album will probably be done better, with less surface noise and all that stuff, unlike the first pressing of this album. But yeah, that's basically concludes everything that I have to say about this Metal Slug album. It is freaking cool. You have to get it. Just like any other single Data Disc products that there is, and they've been making a lot of records. I mean, I put a link to their website in their description below, but yeah, as I said before, 013. That means that this is the 13th album that Data Disc has released, as I said earlier in this video. But at the time of this video, did you know they're actually making a Streets of Rage 3 soundtrack? That's awesome. So yeah, I hope to maybe get some more of these Data Disc records in the future. They're all very great products. Yeah, so yeah, sorry if I'm dragging this a little bit too long, but yeah, I cannot tell you how amazing all these Data Disc records are. They're very good. So anyways, yeah, so this is where I have to end the video, because I feel like if I keep going on, I'll keep talking about how amazing Data Disc is. But anyways, so I really hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Metal Slug album. This is the Sega Janicast. My name is Michael, and may the dream be with you.